Hey, does your feet stink? I mean, do they really stink? How do you know if they stink or not? When is the last time you really took a good whiff of your feet? Mom, today I'm not talking about our physical feet. I'm talking about our spiritual feet and the feet that prosper a servant's heart. I want to take you back to the Last Supper here in John chapter 13, beginning in verse 1. It says, "Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world into the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he has come from God, and went to God, he riseth from supper, he laid aside his garments, and he took a towel, and he girded himself. After that he poureth water into the basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherein he was girded." See, there's some things about this scripture that I think that we overlook sometimes is that back in the day, it was not customary to wear your shoes in the house. And according to research, the disciples and people in the Bible times wore sandals that had wooden soles and that had leather latches to them. So can you imagine walking out all day long in just sandal feet? How dirty that your feet must have gotten. So when you entered the home, what you did was you took your shoes off, and they always had a servant there available to wash your feet. That was a servant's job into the house. And now we see that Jesus is rising from supper to do this. So I want you to think about this. There's three reoccurring arguments that the disciples always had, and that was, who is the greatest? Who is the greatest of them? Who was the greatest? And I'm going to take you back over now to Luke 9. Back here to Luke 9. It says the disciples argue about who would be the greatest. In verse 46 it says, Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them would be the greatest. And Jesus, perceiving the thought of their heart, took a child and set him by him, and said unto him, Whosoever shall receive this child and name receiveth me, and whosoever shall receive me receiveth him that sent me. For he that is least among you all, the same shall be great. The disciples who had walked with Jesus this entire time and watched his service still had an eye problem, a problem that they wanted, that we always get sometimes. We get so carried away that we really think about ourselves so much. They were concerned. Think about this. The very last supper, the very last time they would have a dinner with Christ himself, they were, right before that, they were concerned about who was going to be the greatest. So much so that when they sat down for dinner at the Last Supper, people didn't sit in tables and chairs like we did now. They kind of laid around the table with their arm and their legs were extended. So imagine laying around a table with your feet and someone else's feet in your face. Dirty, stinking feet. But yet no one there laying around the table of the disciples was willing to admit that someone needs to get up and wash people's feet. Someone needs to take the role here, take the lead. You see, if they knew that if they had gotten up to do such a thing, then it would show that they were a servant, and they were more concerned with being the greatest. So who, the greatest servant of all, Jesus Christ himself, stood up as an example and showed them that he was going to serve them, the lowliest of the servants, the greatest, the King of kings, the great I am, girded himself with a towel, poured water in a basin, and decided to wash the dirty, stinking feet of the disciples. Also, in Luke 10:42, it says this. It says that after these things, the Lord appointed every other 70 also, and sent them two and two before his face into every city and place whither he himself would come. Therefore he said unto them, I want you to listen to this, the harvest is truly great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. You see, we are here divinely appointed by Christ. We are able to be here because Christ saved us. He took an oath. He died on the cross to give us life. Our job here and our role here is to be his servants, to use our mouth, our hands, our feet of service to go do his work. And sometimes we get so busy and so confused and so preoccupied with the things that's going on in our life that we forget our real purpose here. So I want you to think about, to really examine your stinking feet today and think about what you need to do. I hope that this will challenge you it has challenged me to also to think about whose feet can I wash? Who can I serve today? I want to be an example of that Christ gave me to follow about being a servant, to be able to realize I want to become the lowest to be made the greatest. I want to be lowly like him. I want to be humble like him. I want to be able to express my love and desire and dedication to him through the service that we do. Think about you. May God convict our hearts and examine us and put thoughts and minds and put into place the things that he needs, that we need to do for him. We are here for him. Let's be his great ambassadors, and always remember to check your stinking feet.